Hi, this is a brief recording of the GRC module configured in the eNow digital platform. Now I'm logging in into the system. So this GRC module was developed based on inputs from various experts in the GRC field, and it's totally customizable. The workflows and everything, all the labeling, everything is customizable depending upon the client's requirements. We have further divided the GRC module into three different modules for governance, compliance, and risk. So we will start with the governance module. I'm going into the governance module, and we have two set of applications here. So one is the application admin, another one is the transactions. Application admin is more of like a one-time setup wherein you configure all the things that are necessary for that particular application. It's only a one-time setup, and the day-to-day use, those kind of applications come under transactions. Now we will go into the application admin. So in the application admin, you can see we have standards, domains, and controls for the governance. So you can take any standard like ISO 27001, ISO 9001, or any other standard. So here we have this standard, domains, and controls which are under the system level, and then we have standards, domains, and controls which are under the organization level. The difference is that, so when we hand out to the customer, so we will pre-configure the system with some standard things like ISO 27001, ISO 9001, like that. Some standards will be already configured in the system through these system application. And when the organization people, when the client starts using it, so they have the flexibility of importing an standard from our existing standards, or they can create a new standard altogether, new standard for their particular needs. So that option is there. So standard, the standard ID and name can be given, and under the standard comes domains, so we can have a domain ID or a clause, the name and the objective of the domain. And under controls, so under standard domain, then you have control. So the controls can be mandatory or optional, and you can adjust the applicability as and when depending upon your organization needs, so that only the application controls will show up on the checklist during the audit process. So this is the application admin for the governance module. So next we will go with the transactions. So under transactions, we have documents and document mapping. So documents, all the various documents, policies, procedures of the organization can be kept in one place, along with a detailed history of their version and document changes and everything. And same, those documents can be mapped to the various controls against every standard, so that it's helpful for a easy reference. I will first explain the workflow that is configured here, and then I will show these things. So this is the document approval process. So document approval process, basically when we manage the documents of the organization, a subject matter expert, they will create or update a document to a new version, and they will upload it into the system, and they will give a name for it, change history, version, everything can be noted there. And once the document is uploaded, it is assigned to a reviewer. The manager will assign it to a reviewer. The reviewer will perform the review and see if the document is okay. If there are any observation points, the reviewer sends the document back to the SME, who will fix that and send it back to the reviewer again. If everything is okay, the reviewer will submit the document for approval. So once it is submitted for approval, it goes to the manager. The manager level can also give any observation points or approve the document. So that is the workflow process here, configured for this particular case. And the roles that you see here, the roles and the workflow process can also be modified depending on client to client. And next, this is the document mapping process. So a subject matter expert will map a document to a control. It is assigned to a reviewer for review. The reviewer reviews it. If there are any observation points, he gives it. Otherwise, he submits the mapping for approval, and it goes back again to the manager. So he will again see if everything is okay, and then approve the document mapping. Or otherwise, the manager can also give observation points to be revised again. So these are the workflows. Now we will go to the system. So in the system you can see there are approved documents here, and then we have org documents. So org documents are the documents, all the documents that are in the organization, whereas approved documents only list the documents which have been approved by a due process. And you can see all the details here: the document name, what is the type, the objective, the version number and version date. And by clicking the download button, so one will be able to download the document. And just upon clicking any particular entry, we will be able to see the entire history of the process. So from it was new, then it was assigned, reviewed, up, then finally approved. And at each stage, whatever change that happened to the document, everything is captured in the system, and you can download the first version of the document to the latest version of the document also. So all these versions are maintained separately, so you can check them at any time. Then we have document mapping. So under document mapping, I will now just select a standard. So once the standard is selected, all the domains and controls under that standard are displayed here. And the next columns which are empty, that it means that there is no document mapped to this control yet. Here you can see one document is mapped against this control. So you can see, yeah. So you can see for acceptable use of information, acceptable usage policy, that document has been mapped here. Okay, and if you want to map a document, we can just click the link button here. When we click the link button, all the approved documents, whatever documents have been approved, they will be listed down here, and any number of documents can be mapped to a control, and the same document can be mapped to multiple controls also. We have given an additional section where you can add any reference for the document also. So once it is mapped, this again goes through a review process. I will just click on entry to show the history. So it's new, then assigned to a reviewer, it is reviewed, then finally submitted for approval and approved. So in this phase, also in this phase, if there is any change made to the document, that is also captured in our history here. So this is with respect to document mapping. And I had mentioned about observation points. So if suppose a reviewer gives the observation points, those will also be noted down separately. They are stored separately, and they are also tracked to closure. So we can see here by clicking this observations button, we can see what was the observation given by the reviewer and whether it was closed or not. All the details will be there. So that is with the governance module. Here we configure all the standards, domains and controls, and then we manage all the documents, take it through approval process, and then map the documents to the controls, and only the applicable controls will be listed in this screen. Now let us head over to compliance. So under compliance also we have application admin and transactions. I will go into the application admin. So first we have the compliance status. So this is during auditing we will be assigning a particular status to each entry. That is configured here. So we can what kind of statuses we want to have during the audit process, that can be configured here. And maturity level, so for a particular control and a document, so what is the maturity level, and corresponding what is the score that we want to give, that can be configured here. Then we have compliance questions or the checklist. So here the domains and controls that we defined in the governance. So for each of them, a checklist will be there, a list of questions. So all those questions can be configured here, and we can also see like which department or function that does that question belong to. That can also be configured here. So the checklist is configured, and it can be edited or modified at any time. So now we go into the compliance transactions. So I will take you through the workflow process and then come back again to this. Under compliance we have two workflows: audit plan approval process and auditing itself. Audit plan approval process, basically someone will be creating an audit plan, a list of standards to be audited, who is the auditor, who is the auditee, everything. The plan is submitted for review is performed. If there are any recommendations, it's sent back again to the creator. Otherwise, it's submitted for approval, and in approval role, it approves the audit plan, or else it recommendations are given to modify the plan. And then this is the audit process. The auditor, once the plan is approved, the concerned auditor will perform audit, and if there are any clarifications or recommendations, they will submit a draft report which goes to the auditee. The auditee will check that and respond to the draft report, and if everything is okay, the auditor will submit a final report. Otherwise, they will again submit a draft report. We'll go to the application. So here you can see two audits are there. I'll just briefly show the creation of an audit plan. So we can select what type of audit is, internal or external, from what date to what date it is going to happen, and which standards are going to be audited, which locations or units of the organization are going to be located, audited, and which departments are going to be audited. That can be selected here, and once that is done, so we can head over to adding auditors. So for this location and for this department, so this is the auditee, and auditor 1 is the auditor. We can also select the planned date and what time they are going to do the audit, and save. So once this is done, and we can add any number of auditors here, so not just one, any number of auditors can be added as a list here, and finally save. So the plan will be created, then it is taken through an approval process. I will just show the history. So here underneath you can see the history. So the plan, a new one was created, it was submitted for review, then it was submitted for approval, and finally it got approved. So all the who did it and what time, that is tracked here. So once the audit plan is approved, then the auditor, it's up to the auditors to do the rest of the thing. So I will just go to an login as an auditor. So an auditor, you can see what audits have been assigned to this particular auditor, and we can just see through this, we can see the details of the audit, who are the various auditors and everything, and also upon clicking the history of this particular audit under the audit plan, that particular audit under the audit plan, that can also be tracked here. So we can see the history of this one, and to perform audit, the auditor just has to click perform audit. So when the auditor clicks perform audit, the standards which are to be audited, we define some checklist questionnaire in the application admin. So all those questions will be listed down here, so you can see. So has the organization determined, so that question is there. The checklist will be populated based upon the standard and which department they are auditing, like that. So the auditor can just select like what is the level, what is the compliance status, and they can select the maturity level, and if it's compliant, they can just close it out, or if there is anything, they can give recommendations. They can say change, and apart from recommendations, they can also attach any document for reference. Any reference document can be attached, and then finally they will save. So finally they will save. Now once it is saved, they can update the status. They can update the status and submit a draft report. It will again go back to the auditee. The auditee will again check everything, and then they will send it back to the auditor. And once everything is done, and once they complete the entire checklist, they will submit the final report. So that is the audit process. And for in the interest of time, I will just show the sample report of what we will get. I can head to the approved audits. So this one is approved, and you can see here there is an action button which says audit records. So if we just click that, all the records concerned to that audit will be displayed onto the screen. And we have a color coding based on the maturity level. So non-compliant and opportunity for improvement. By default, all the open which have the audit status as open will be displayed here, which need to be for which we have to take any action, and any documents that were attached by the auditor will be also be available here, and what was the recommendation given will be available here. So these can also be tracked to closure. If we want to see the entire record, so we can just click show all. So upon clicking show all, we'll be able to see the compliant ones also, which are like okay. So all the entire audit can also be seen. So this is for the overall audit process. And suppose if we click onto this, we will have the individual records also. For example, here there is only one auditor. If there was auditor 2, 3 and 4, the records concerning those auditors can also be seen here separately. So that is with the audit process. And now we have risk. In risk, we have application admin. So application admin starts with division objectives. So each department or division, they can have their own objectives, like increase the stability and attrition of recruits. Likewise, whatever objectives they need to focus on, all the objectives can be captured here. And then we have risk areas. So various risk areas like organization, project, subcontractors, the risk areas can be configured here, and those risks can be mapped to particular units, divisions and departments. So some risk areas might be applicable to some units and some departments, some might not be applicable, so they can simply just be mapped here. So the mapping can be done, and it can be removed anytime. Then under risk areas, we have risk contributors. So for organization, one of the risk contributor is premises. So likewise, we can add any number of risk contributors under each risk area. And then under risk contributors, we have risk contributor factors. So for example, like under the process risk area, the risk contributor is life cycle, the factor is development, maintenance of the life cycle chosen. So this we can configure. Then we have impact. So this is for the risk assessment, what will be the impact of the risk. So that can be configured. Any type of scoring can be configured depending upon the organization. And then we have the probability of risk. So what will be the probability of risk, and scoring for that also can be done. And then we have a probability impact matrix based on that. So it's like a matrix with against impact and probability. So I'll just show the end result of this. It can be configured. So based on this, the color coding can also be applied to the risk register, which we will see in the following thing. Now we go to risk transactions. So under risk transactions, first we have FMEA analysis, then SWOT analysis, and currently we are working on Ishikawa also. It's under development. For FMEA, so I will just show what it is. So failure mode effective analysis. So we can select what is a unit, division, department, and FMEA ID, what is the item or process, what is the failure mode, and we can add multiple failure modes also. What is the failure mode, what is the effect of that, the severity, causes, the occurrence, the current controls, detection. So based on that, a risk priority number is calculated. So then all the risks are displayed based on the risk priority number in the descending order. So for example, here for ATM pin verification, the failure mode is unauthorized access, and the effect is noted down here. The occurrence and the RPN number is calculated, and the actions, recommended actions, are also can be entered here, and they can be tracked to closure. They can be tracked, and from here directly this thing can be moved to the risk register. So we will see that risk register, external task. So I will just move this authentication failure to the risk register. So now this has been moved to the risk register. I will just go and check the risk register. It is there, it's present here. So we will come back to this again. I will now show the SWOT analysis part. SWOT analysis: strength, weaknesses, opportunities and threats. So for each objective we can define this. So I am selecting unit 1, division 1, department, and select an objective. Sorry, IT department. Yes. So you can see all the strengths, weaknesses and opportunities and threats concerned to every division objective can be noted down here, and this will be a useful reference, and from here also we can directly move these things to the risk register. So I will just move this to the risk register. So it's moved to the risk register successfully. I will head over to the risk register. So you can see the security vulnerabilities and applications. It's here. So the risk register, we can track all the risks of the organizations and see what actions can be taken and how it can be rectified. And we have separated the data into several parts. First is the risk identification. So here, what is the date of the risk, what is the risk area, the risk contributor and risk factor, that is and the risk description, that is noted down here. And after risk identification we have risk analysis. So what is the probability and impact that can be chosen? Based on that, the risk exposure is calculated, and what is the existing controls can be entered here in risk analysis. And then we have planning, risk response and implementation. So here we can add what type of risk response should be there to mitigate it, and the response description, what is, if there is any target date for this, and what is the current status under monitoring and control. So we can track this to closure. Current status, what is the comments, who updated it, and the actions. So we can just I'll show like what is the risk response: accept, avoid, mitigate, transfer. So all this can be noted down here. And for the case where we moved some entries from FMEA and SWOT analysis into the risk register, so there the risk area, contributor, risk factor, it's not known, so it has to be entered after it is moved to the risk register. So all these values, probability, impact, has to be entered, and then it has to be tracked to closure. By default this is shown in the descending order based on the risk exposure. The one with the largest risk exposure will be shown on the top, and on the top we have a top 10 button. So if we just click that, only the top 10 risks of the organization will be shown in the screen. Thank you.